Hi, welcome to the lecture number 14. In this lecture we will be talking about while loop specifically, but more about repetition structure, then the while loop, then while syntax, then while flowchart, then we will be talking about infinite loop, in while loop, and we will talk about some important points about while loop, and then I'll be giving you a task. Now, repetition structure. In our day-to-day life, most of things are repeated. Days and nights repeat themselves 30 times a month. 4 seasons replace each other every year. We can see similar phenomena in the practical life. For example, in the payroll system, some procedures are same for all the employees. They are repeatedly applied while dealing with the employees. So repetition is a very kind of like useful in the structure, useful structure in the programming. Let's discuss a problem. To understand it thoroughly, we have to calculate the sum of first 10 whole numbers. That is, add the numbers from 1 to 10. So how could we solve it? One of the solution is this one, in which, let me point out the, wait a minute, laser, okay, in which the output is sum of the first 10 numbers is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, writing it manually. Another way of doing it is using a loop, because there are issues in it. What is the issue? The issue is that the answer is although correct and the syntax is correct, but this method will not be suitable for computing the sum of numbers from 1 to 1000, because the addition of a very big number of digits will result in a very ugly and boring statement. So for that reasons we use repetition structure. So we use while and other looping constructs for such problems. Let's analyze it carefully. Our first integer is 1. Is there any other way to find out what is the next integer? Yes, we can add 1 to the integer and get the next integer, which is 2, and then again add 1 to the integer 2, which the result will become 3, and then add 1, the result will become 4. So instead of writing it manually 1, 2, 3, 4, so it is matter of repetition, understanding the underlying pattern in it. Once we find the pattern, we can apply the logic. We can apply the logic of looping. So this is how looping will help out. And now we need to understand that there are many looping constructs in C language. The repetition structure we are discussing in this language lecture is while loop structure, but then we'll be also talking about do while loop, and then we'll be talking about for loop. So while is also a keyword of C, so it cannot be used as a variable name. Now what does while mean? While simply means do it until the condition is true. This is really simple. Now if we look at the syntax of the while loop, so it says while some logical expression and some condition, if unless the condition is true, unless the condition is false, repeatedly execute this block of code. So if the condition is true, the code will be executed, and then the condition will be checked. If again it is true, the code will be executed, and this will repeat infinite times unless and until this condition inside this logical expression becomes false. So this contains a relational operator. Usually the logical expression contains a relational operator. While this logical expression is true, the statements will be executed repeatedly. When this logical expression becomes false, the statement within the block will not be executed. So this is while loop flowchart. So while loop, is loop condition true? So this is a decision making. So if it is no, the condition is not true, so it will exit, and this block, the loop will exit the next loop and the next structure, and the next block of codes for the next structure will be executed, whatever that is. But if the condition is true, the process will continue infinitely. So in looping, simply what is happening in a loop? In a loop, we initialize variable at first, then we set a condition for the continuation by termination of a loop, then to meet the condition to terminate the loop, we effect the condition in the body of the loop. For example, we set the condition that x is equal to 0 in the very start here, and then we set the we set the loop condition that unless the x is greater than unless x is until x is less than 10, go on and continue to execute this block of code. If the condition is true that x is less than 10, then execute this block of code, but if condition is false, then exit out of this while loop. So the first thing is initialization of variable here, that x is equal to 0. We defined it, we assigned the value to x, and then looking for the condition whether x is greater less than 10. The condition is true because we initialize it to 0, so yes, and so it will come again. But in the process, if we did not change the value of x of the variable which we set in the first place, if we do not continue to change it, usually we increase it. So if we do not change it inside the loop, inside this process, so what will happen is that the value of x will remain 0, and the condition that x is less than 10 will remain true for all the time, for infinite time. So this while loop will be infinite loop. So what we will do is that in the process we will increment the condition by 1 or by any number, but we will change the condition in the process so that this loop becomes no at some time and exit out of so the loop is not an infinite loop. This is what is happening here. To meet the condition, to terminate the loop, we effect the condition in the body of the loop. If there is a variable in the condition, the value of that variable is changed within the body of the loop. If the value of the variable is not changed, then the condition of termination of the loop will not meet, and loop will become an infinite one. We'll be looking the example of that. So the nodes for while loop is that loop in while loop, the while loop may execute 0 or many times. When will it execute 0 times? When the initial condition we set in the first place here is the one which is set in a way that the loop condition is not true even in the first place. Say suppose if we set the value of x is equal to 11 and we set the condition to be x less than 10, so of course x is not less than 10 even in the first place, so it will directly go out and exit the while loop, and it will not be executed in this statement and these block of code will not be executed even once, so it will be executed 0 times. So this is important. A loop may execute 0 or many times, while loop and the secondly while loop could trap into infinite loop if we do not change the condition in the process, in the block of statement codes, in the block of code in the while loop. Perfect. So the task is to sum first 1000 integers starting from 1. Note, beware of infinite loop. In the next lecture I'll be explaining this task. Thank you.